Since even before man could fly, there was an effort to try to modify the weather. We have weather modification patents going back 100 years plus.
These are historical films of what can be done with a biplane, a small biplane that carries a very small payload. And that much can be done. How much more can a fully loaded military tanker, KC-10, KC-135, C-17 Globemaster, how much more material can they put in the air?
We know that climate engineering was deployed immediately after World War II, so testing was absolutely ongoing. Clearly, these bombers were used for beta testing. Film footage proves it.
For more than a year, ominous rumors had been privately circulating among high-level Western leaders on what was darkly hinted to be the ultimate weapon, a doomsday device.
As the sun began to rise on September 29th, 1963, a sense of anticipation filled the air at MacDill Air Force Base in Florida. The crews of several B-52 bombers gathered in a secure meeting room, awaiting their mission brief. Little did they know that they were about to embark on a covert operation that would alter the course of history. Inside the briefing room, Major James Mitchell, a seasoned veteran with a distinguished record, stood before the assembled crews. His face was stoic, yet his eyes betrayed a glint of excitement for the mission ahead. He began to outline the objectives in his trademark authoritative tone, unfazed by the immense implications of the task at hand. The target, Tropical Storm Flora, which was rapidly intensifying in the Caribbean. The mission, to sow the storm with experimental cloud-seeding microparticles, testing the feasibility of weather manipulation as an unconventional, militarized technology. The crews listened with rapt attention, despite the early morning hour. They understood the importance of succeeding in this trial run, both for gaining strategic advantage and for avoiding unintended consequences. The microparticles were designed to control the storm's intensity by disrupting or manipulating its internal dynamics. However, results were far from guaranteed. Failure could potentially turn the storm toward Florida, risking a domestic disaster of epic proportions. However, the potential rewards were too great to ignore. Harnessing the power of the weather could shift the global balance. The crews steeled themselves, resolving to succeed. After a final weather briefing and mission plan review, the pilots, navigators, and bombardiers filed out to their assigned B-52 Stratofortresses. Ground crews had worked throughout the night to prepare the aircraft, loading them with top-secret payloads. Tension was evident in the faces of the airmen as they conducted their pre-flight checks. This was no training exercise, and they knew that Cuban air defenses would be on high alert after the near cataclysm of the Cuban Missile Crisis. One mistake could spark another international incident. One by one, the bombers thundered down the runway and climbed into the brightening Florida sky, assembling into formation as they turned south toward Cuba. At the mission's height, the B-52s would be impossible for radar to pick up, but first they had to cross the Caribbean unseen. As land faded from sight, the crews couldn't help but think of the previous year's crisis, and how close the world had come to nuclear Armageddon. Here they were again, penetrating disputed airspace, with the fate of humanity potentially in their hands. Each man wondered if today would be the day their luck ran out. Suddenly, the radar screens lit up. A Cuban battery had locked on. Missiles incoming. The bombers banked radically, releasing chaff and diving. Explosions erupted around them. Miraculously, all the B-52s made it through unscathed. The new tactics had worked. No time to celebrate, however. They had to reassemble and continue before the Cubans scrambled MiGs. Penetrating the storm zone, the B-52s encountered violently pitching winds and torrential rain. It took all their strength to maintain control. At the designated coordinates, the bombardiers released the cloud-seeding payloads into Flora's raging high wall. Strange silver particles sparkled like fireworks inside the storm. As the flight emerged from the clouds, the crews could already see the hurricane morphing. The microparticles were interacting with the storm's core dynamics, modulating its intensity. However, the results were asymmetric, distorting the circular shape into an unnatural, elongated blob. Satellite images would certainly raise questions from meteorologists. Returning to Florida, the crews were met by General Curtis LeMay himself. He congratulated them gruffly, declaring the mission an unqualified success. The potential for weather manipulation was proven, he boasted, and America's enemies had been put on notice. However, because of the operation's classified nature, the pilots and aircrew could never be publicly honored, nor talk about what they had done on this day.
I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso, and on this day in weather history, October 3rd, 1963, Hurricane Flora made landfall in Haiti as a Category 4, savage winds gusting up to 200 miles per hour. Flora developed from a disturbance in the tropical convergence zone in late September, roughly 800 miles southwest of Cape Verde Islands. Florida then entered the Caribbean, struck Haiti at peak intensity. The calm of the eye lasted for up to 70 minutes in one location. However, intense precipitation of biblical proportions deluged Hispaniola. 75 inches of rain fell, with one location recording over 57 inches in just 3 days. Flash floods and mudslides washed away towns. Entire communities were virtually erased or buried with mud. Flora hovered over Cuba for 4 days before drifting northeastward and becoming an extratropical cyclone on October the 12th. It was the wettest known cyclone for Cuba, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. Florida caused almost $530 million in damage and was responsible for between 7,000 and 8,000 fatalities, making it one of the top 10 deadliest Atlantic hurricanes of all time.
To continue to expand the scientific aspects of it, to have it available in your portfolio of weapons would be a natural process. Therefore, should you expect that it is available on demand to have the ability to modify weather? Absolutely, within this country and others.